Today's podcast is sponsored by Shauna Hawkins Photography. Welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty.
Good morning and welcome to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast. I'm your host, Jody, and today we're having a conversation with a friend of mine, Julie DeHarnay. Julie, how are you, sweetheart?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you on. I'm so excited. We just are recent acquaintances or should I say, we were acquaintances, now we're recent friends on Twitter. Or do I have to call it X? I'm just going to go with Twitter because I'm sticking with old style. So yeah, welcome to the show. Thank you in advance for your time. I appreciate that. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have a couple different titles, that I associate myself with, like a veteran and a mother, an artist, an author. I've done a mural. So one of the main things is that my mental health has driven a lot of my passion in life. Like, I think that kind of stands for everybody. Like, your mental health is
Yes.
what, dictates things. And I think I did a lot of stuff before I had my son. So now that I'm a mother, my focus has been primarily on that. But on X, or Twitter, I've grown my following from just organic interactions with different people. And I've met some of the most interesting people on there. So I'll never get rid of it. But I'm so thankful for people like you who gave me this opportunity. And it's all about connecting with people and having genuine conversations. At least it is that way for me. So that's a little bit about myself.
Yes. Authenticity is, I find it's rare, like the blue diamond nowadays. But so important. And I feel like I can just tell right away if I'm gonna have an authentic connection with someone. Um,
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, and with so many people too, you got to be discerning on who you let into your inner circle. That's for sure. But yeah, I hear ya. I didn't know you were an author too.
Well, that's a fun little tidbit about me.
What did you write?
So I have two pieces that are published on Amazon Kindle.
Oh, nice.
They were written after I had a near death experience with a kidney stone that blocked the passageway.
Whoa.
And it's interesting because I write in the book about how it's like about spiritual warfare and how I had been praying to God to kill me. Like, I just didn't want to live anymore. And the opportunity came, and I was like, don't let me die. Let me fight this. And I will tell everybody I know how people die. And like, this isn't supposed to happen. We're not supposed to be dying. Like, this is crazy. So I wrote the first piece, I think it was called Empirical Evidence. And then it wasn't quite big enough to print and publish in a book at Barnes and Noble or at Walmart or wherever. So I wrote a second part to it that kind of preludes what I was going through, and it gives a little bit more detail as to what empirical evidence is. And that one is called The New Scrolls, or maybe it is Empirical Evidence, The New Scrolls. But anyways,
That's awesome. Not that you
yeah.
had near-death experience, obviously.
I
I've had
did
a
handle
couple.
something okay, but
I
yeah,
have, I've
so
had two myself, and yeah, what can you say, right? That's
you just, yep,
it
it
just
is what it
is.
is.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you also mentioned you're an artist. I just got back into art, and it has been, oh my God, like so soothing for my mind. Like I have a very busy mind, like 1,000 thoughts at once. So it's really hard for me to I have ADD too, so to just focus. And So a friend of mine, I was like, I have that like almost like fear of not being perfect when you start something. Like I expect to pick up a pencil and be Van Gogh, or a paintbrush and be Van Gogh, right? And it's just like this ridiculous like subconscious expectation. So once I was able to put that down, my friend was like, just pick up some markers and start scribbling on a piece of paper for God's sakes.
Right,
So I
anything.
right, and I started doing that, and I got back into like drawing and coloring and stuff, and it's been so like I have to make it a part of my daily routine now because it's the one thing that I can really get my mind to slow down. It's almost meditative in a way for me.
No, art is 100% healing, I believe. That's kind of how I started it, was in the hospital. I didn't know I could do art. Like I just, I was an artsy craftsy kid. I always thought I was weird and like knitting, and I thought no one else did. So I just was kind of like in the closet about being an artist. And
Mm-hmm.
then as I experienced the mental hospital for the first time, I was um, able to do art therapy. And holy cow, that changed my life because I didn't ever sit down and like be told, besides an art class when you're in school.
Right, right.
So it was interesting. And then in the hospital, they were like, oh, you should sign these, put your name on it. And I'm like, why? It's not even that good. And so I kind of had this thing where I didn't put my name on any of the paintings that I did at first, but then I learned time flies, put your name and the date on it at least.
Right, right. Art, it's I love that they do art therapy and mental health programs. It's just such a good way, and there's like art can be like anything, and it's so like individual, like what one person sees as art, another person may or may not see as art, but if it's coming from the heart, I feel like it's just such a good way to get things out
Oh yeah,
in a creative
100%
manner,
agree.
right?
It's yeah, that's if you could, like, I'm kind of jealous that you dedicate that time every day. And when I'm over here dedicating my time to the gym, I'm like, I should probably dedicate some time to doing art because I'm actually like good at it and I have all these supplies that are just sitting here.
Yes, absolutely. Because you know what? Like we dedicate so many things to self-improvement, but I find we don't dedicate, like we do little things for self-care, but we never like dedicate time for self-care. Like and it be hard to being a mom because I know like I don't think your son's very old and you're probably like running around like a mad woman, right? Because kids like that,
Well,
like they're full of energy, right? Like
yeah,
it's just like nonstop energy. You're like, whoa, until bedtime. But yeah, I would love to see some of your art one day if you're interested in sharing.
yeah,
Shoot me a DM. I'd love to see it. I
yeah,
haven't
for
got
sure.
delved into painting yet, but I do have the supplies. I wanted to actually try that. You know that paint pouring?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I want to try that and see how that goes. So it looks kind of like it's easier not to make a disastrous mess.
They say there's no mistakes in art, you
This
know?
is true. This is true. Probably just self-judgment here.
Yeah, and it's the biggest like reflection for me when I'm drawing and I have like, so I'll go on TikTok in live stream, and sometimes I record myself doing art. And when I was doing it before, someone had suggested something and I started drawing and I was like, oh, this sucks. I'm not this, and I'm like doubting myself out loud. And it
Right.
came out it came out so good.
Oh, awesome. That's so good.
Like, and it
I
always
love that.
does. That's so I feel
Yes.
like that's the lesson with art is like, don't doubt yourself and just keep stroking.
I tell that with people with writing too. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Just get it all out on paper first. You can organize the thoughts after. You can organize the sentence structure and the paragraphs. Just for now, just get it all out. Even if it's like 10-page run-on sentence, just get it on paper.
Do you find that getting things on paper helps with overthinking?
For me, yes, because then I can like almost categorize things. Um, into, like what's a priority and what's not. Because I have this thing like where I feel like I should, and it's a trauma response, right? Like the need to always be busy,
Okay.
and not being able to. relax without feeling like, oh, doing this I should have been doing this, or I could have been doing that, when in fact it's okay to schedule. For me anyway, it's okay to schedule an hour into my day to do art. It's okay to, make time for things that bring me joy without feeling guilt that I should be, cleaning the house or something else. Because I'll be like, oh my God, I'm doing art. I should be doing this, or I should be doing laundry, or I should be whatever, right? And then that kind of takes away from the self-care aspect of it because my mind's too busy on shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
I That's so powerful to be able to like conceptualize like uh, putting an hour aside is not bad. Like it's good. It's healthy and like to schedule joy, like to put it in your daily schedule that like, you know what, for this 1 hour I'm not going to think about anything else. I'm just going to create and express myself, whether it's painting, drawing, writing, coloring, whatever, you name it. And then
Yeah,
not thinking of the should haves and could haves.
yes, yes, absolutely. I think we spend so much time in our life in shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? Like in regrets of what we could have done or what we should be doing or whatever else. And I'm trying to have a more like um flow approach to things because that's not naturally how my mind works. My mind is like I had a lot of childhood trauma, and I think because of that, I've been probably in fight or flight mode. I don't want to age myself here, but for
Right.
decades. And I think part of healing is accepting the fact that you don't always have like kicking your body out of that fight or flight mode. Like it doesn't have to be, it's not supposed to be on 24 hours a day, never mind for decades, right? It's literally
Uh-huh.
supposed to click on when you're in fight or flight, one of the two, or freeze or whatever, fawn. But for me, it's just been like constantly. So last year and this year is my focus is to get most of my time, my mind to spend in the present instead of like, oh, back in the day when I could have done this or I could have done that. Like it's already done and over with, and now it's just time to like enjoy the days, like try and get the most out of each day and try and get something productive done, but then not get down on myself if I don't.
I I love that idea that at a certain point you kind of just let the past be the past. And you're like, you know what, I'm gonna focus on the here and the now because that's what I have, the most control of.
Yes, yes. I'm a big proponent on circle of control. It's the one thing I learned through Stoicism, actually. Um, and I have a visual drawing to remind me, so it's like my inner circle, and those are the things that I can directly control in my life. And then there's the outer circle, and those are the things I tend to worry about, but I can't control. And sometimes I need that visual reference to remind me, like my brain's like spinning out about, I don't know, what's happening in the world or whatever the case may be. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like, as much as I want to fix the world, I can't fix the world. So let's go back into my circle of control and see how I can make that better and fix my world.
That's
Um, and how I
that's
interact with others because everyone's worlds collide at some point in time, right? So I want to be able to present kind of like the best version of me when my world interacts with someone else's world.
that is so you're so full of wisdom, and I'm so thankful for this conversation. And I don't often go in spaces and speak, but when you mentioned stoicism, I was like, I think I had a conversation with someone one time, and they said I was kind of like I had a lot of stoic beliefs, and the circle of control is kind of, I didn't know it was part of that, but to be able to recognize like, hey, I can't change the world, but I can change me, and I can change the things in my control circle. um, that is how the world is changed, is every single person works on themselves, and when you're the best version of yourself, we have less, road rage or whatever,
Yes.
the the civil war kind of crap that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
If we could all
Mm-hmm.
just focus on ourselves for a little bit, but
And I think like we need to remember that like we're just as important as everyone else that we're trying to take care of too, right? That's also like a trauma response, being the caretaker all the time and wanting to like fix everything. Um, but I'm kind of realizing, like I'm just as important as the people that I help. So I have to also give myself that time, which is like a newer concept with me because I was one of those people for years who could like refill others on an empty cup. And then it just kind of like one day just like came into like this total burnout. And I was like, why do I feel so burnt out? Right? No clue what's going on. And someone pointed out to me, yo, dude, stop refilling everything, everybody's cup when you haven't had time to refill your own. I was like, oh, right, right. That probably makes sense.
You're like, me? Self? Huh? What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Self-care? What? I have to Google this?
Yeah.
It's crazy, eh? Like
Uh,
it's
the
like we
self-care
automatically
piece.
devalue our own worth.
Yeah. Personally, if I had to come from my own experience, I think my self-worth was tanked, and it was tied to different things, and it took a lot of work to undo like some of the belief systems that I had about myself. But the last year I have been focusing on myself because I'm not we're not the same age, but living in that survival mode, I felt that, pretty deeply because this is my self-care season,
Right, right. That's
focusing on
absolutely so important. And you said you were a vet too, right?
yeah, yeah. I was a
That,
Navy. I was in the Navy.
what? That's so cool. I was in Annapolis once and I was actually sailing on Chesapeake Bay and it was so cool to see all like all the Naval Academy boys all dressed in white and they all want to party, but they're not really allowed to. And they weren't allowed to have girlfriends in their first year. And it was just so like, it was so cool. The whole academy seeing all those people all in like, when they were all like wearing their white suits and stuff. It was like, what? Everyone looks so cool.
I wish that I had kept my uniforms because I have dreams of wearing them again. And I'm like, it would be so cool just to put them on.
Yes, yes. How long did you serve, may I ask?
Yeah, so it was a quick 2.5 years until I
Okay,
got a medical discharge.
okay.
So that was a fun time.
Oh
I worked my
God, I bet.
F-18s.
What?
Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
it was a good time. But
Did you go on one of those giant boats?
I was working on my qualifications to be able to go on one of the boats, and I would have been on the
Okay,
flight deck if I got on the boat, like up there with the
right.
jets launching them.
That's crazy. Oh my God. I see that. I'm
It's
just like, how is the rubber band stopping the plane? I don't understand.
a chain.
I know, but it just looks like how can anything stop something going that fast? Like it not just rip the wheels off or something. It's so crazy.
Yes.
Um, Funny story, I was in Cartagena, Colombia. I've been there a few times, but one of the times I was there, I guess the American Navy guys were in the area and they had a 3-day leave, so they all came to my resort. Oh God, that's all I can say, man. Those guys like it's a 24-hour a day party for 3 days. I don't think any of them slept more than like 2 hours. It was
Then
so fun. It was so crazy, but it was so fun. And then um, they went back out to the boat, but my friend owned the dive shop in the resort, so we were able to go out and like on our boat and kind of follow them out as they went back to theirs. And I was just like, God, we got to it, and I was like, oh my God, I have never felt so small in my entire life. Like our 26-foot boat wasn't even the size of those round windows. I was like, good God, like this thing is huge. You have no idea how big it is until you're in a really small boat next to it.
oh my goodness, I never got up close and personal, but I was like within 100, I don't know, 100-meter range. So I was pretty
Just,
close, but not that close. We did a simulation in boot camp of a boat, and that's about as close as I got to it.
oh my God, boot camp. I don't know if I don't know, dude. Like I always see it. I have some friends who've been in the Navy and others in the Marines, and um, I always, you see the movies and stuff, and people are like, "Oh, maggots and this and that." I was like, "What?
Oh yeah.
What? Someone call me what? Okay, wait a second. We're gonna have a problem here. I don't think I
Oh
would
my
have done too
God.
well in boot camp."
In the
The
Marines
exercise
is
looks,
rough.
oh my God. Well, they just punish you and punish you and punish you. And
They
it's just
call
like,
it beating you up.
yeah,
You beat yourself up.
it's crazy. So that's amazing that you got through that, man. That
Yeah, a
takes
lot of people
some
rebutted against
tenacity.
it. A lot
Yeah.
of people were like, "Oh no, she's not." My dad, my stepmom, everybody, but they would constantly tell me my mouth was going to get me in trouble and that I wouldn't be able to make it through.
Oh, that's what I figured too. My mouth would get me tossed right out. What'd you call me? What? That's crazy. Did you enjoy your time though?
um, yeah, you know, I took liberty to enjoy my liberty, as they call it. Like when
Right.
you're when you're not working, when you're not on duty, you have liberty. So, I expressed my freedoms and,
Nice.
I wasn't 21 yet, but I still
Oh my
managed to
God, you were
drink like
just
a
a
sailor.
baby.
I joined right after high school.
Oh my gosh.
I got out
That's
when I was 21, like 2 days before my 21st birthday.
You got out by your time you were 21? How old do you have to be to join?
Uh, I guess you can join at 17, but I think 18 is like the earliest because most people don't graduate high school until they're 18.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's just a baby.
Yeah. I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm very grateful that I got the benefits of doing 20
Mm-hmm.
years. Like I wanted to do 20 years. I really wanted to stay, but the way that my medical situation worked out was that I couldn't.
Right. Right. Yeah, I have some friends who had to leave due to medical problems, either injuries or mental health problems, or it seems to be quite taxing on the body physically and mentally.
Yeah. Oh, so, one of my friends said, do your research before you join. And I was like, what kind of research? I don't understand. And then, like,
Right.
now I'm like, oh, I get it. It's just, you're either going to get out with a disability or you're not going to get out because you died.
Right. Right. That's a sad truth, but it is
And
the truth, unfortunately. It's so
yeah,
crazy.
reality is sometimes sad, but I'm so grateful to be able to like have my wherewithal about me that it doesn't make me depressed every day and like my pain doesn't make me as angry and bitter as it used to make me. And that's kind of why I started therapy is because I was in physical pain and it was just like this fucking sucks. Excuse my mouth, but this
No,
sucks.
it's okay. You can swear on the podcast. Yeah, that's crazy, eh?
Yeah, so it's been a while since I've been in. I got out in 2013.
Wow. That's just amazing to me that it's so young. Like, uh, it must have been like, I don't know, it just must have been like such an experience, right? Like going straight from high school into something so like discipline and everything. It's just
Yeah.
it's awesome. And the knowledge you gained while you're there, I guess, right?
Yeah,
And not
life is
only
for
that,
the athletes.
you're a badass now.
Certified.
Yeah, you certified badass.
Yeah, and I think um I want to go back and help serve my country in a way. Like I want to give back. I feel like I didn't do enough when I was in. Like I could have
Right.
just sucked it up and been like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, but in the long run, right? It's probably I don't know like what the medical issue was, but in the long run, your health is always more important.
Yeah, that's what one of the chiefs in boot camp said to me because I was so torn. I was like, I don't know what to do. My shins are really hurting me badly, but I know they're going to tell me to stop doing PT or put me on light duty. And I don't want to do that. I want a career. Like, this is too early. And he's like, if you don't take care of it now, it's only going to get worse. And then
Yes.
it's really gonna ruin your career.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. What was your like what if you had stayed in like what would your title have been?
An airman, and then a petty officer if I advance. But um, in boot camp, you start off as a recruit, and then you go to either a seaman or an airman. But because I was in aviation, I was lucky to be called an airman.
Oh, that's so cool. I would like, I can't even with those planes landing on that thing. I don't know how the pilots do it. I don't know how the boat holds the planes. Like, it's just like, it's phenomenal to me. It's phenomenal. So, I will in advance thank you for, even though I'm from up in Canada, but, thank you for serving and thank you for, giving of yourself and being willing to put yourself in a position of risk.
Well, you're very welcome. I just, sometimes when people thank me, I feel like I need to be like, well, I didn't even really do anything. But like, there's a lot of people who want to join that can't. There's people who joined and lost limbs or,
Yes.
whatever it
Yeah.
may be. And I'm blessed to be able to call them my brothers and sisters.
I have so many friends with PT. Well, I would call it CPTSD. As soon as they put it in the DSM-5, everyone else will call it CPTSD too. But for now,
Right.
they say they have PTSD, right? Just from, things they've had to do or things they've seen or experiences or injuries that they got injured, um, either in battle or not in battle.
Yeah.
But it's just so common and it's so horrifying to me that some of these kids are coming back with these limbs missing and such severe PTSD. And I always I see the numbers of suicide and they're just so high among veterans, and it breaks my heart because it's like I'm such a proponent of helping people who are literally standing on the edge of a cliff. If I can extend a rope, I will. But so many vets just don't reach out, and it's almost harder to find them. Um, they don't seem to like, for example, I wrote a blog that went viral about why not to kill yourself, but I don't get a lot of responses from vets. I've got responses from all over the world, but somehow it doesn't seem to hit the veteran community, and I don't know how to get it in there in hopes that it might help someone.
I am in the veteran community for a group chat. I haven't seen it active in a while. I could, be mistaken that it's even a chat anymore, but it's something I think a lot of veterans struggle with is asking for help because
Yes,
you're trained to be so self-sufficient. And if it's not life or death, then, like it's mission readiness. Like whatever the mission is, you have a mission for the day, whether it's to stay alive or you actually have tasks to complete.
right,
A lot of veterans, I think, just struggle feeling like anybody's going to understand what they're going through because it
right.
feels so specific to your situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really sad, but we, something I've learned is we're not all too different, veterans and civilians, but there seems to be like a huge gap between civilians and veterans. And the PTSD is something that we have like a common ground with.
Yes.
And like you said, the CPTSD too is like the complex part of it is
Mm-hmm.
it's not just one situation, it's repetitive situations that ingrained in your mind doom, and you're just
Yes, yes.
hardwired to look for, like death threats and all these,
Danger, yeah.
you're looking at life completely different than someone who's, say your previous version, like the previous self, not that you're a different person, but like 7 years ago, you're looking at life
Yes,
through a
yeah.
different lens,
Oh my God, yes. Yeah.
you know.
I I'll talk to you about that after because I want to be able to help more. I just don't know how to really because I'm not a vet. I obviously like I don't know how to like approach the community, so to speak, but I really would like to get my letter out there because it's helped a lot of people and if it can help even just one vet, then I'd be a happy camper, just to let them know that, our experiences may be different, but the end result of our traumas are pretty similar. In terms of like how we react, how we respond to life, being in fight or flight, because I'm that's got to be life in the Army, Navy, or Marines or anything like that is just fight or flight because literally it is fight or
Mm-hmm.
flight, right? Your
Yeah.
body must get stuck in that.
It took a while to undo the fight or flight mode I was stuck in. It's called amygdala hijacking. And I did psilocybin, and that
Oh, how
really,
did that work for
really
you?
helped. Wow, unbelievably.
Microdosing?
Yup. I
Oh,
just
awesome.
I just had done some research and kept coming across it and kept coming across it, and then I finally came across it in my physical world through a source that I trusted. So I said, you know what? Let me microdose and not try to get like stoned or
Yeah, yeah.
I just I took I took it slow and there was some healing that happened and I felt afterwards that I had a release of anger. And I don't feel that anger anymore that I used to feel. Like I used to feel so frustrated at life, just angry at life.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of just went away. So
Oh, that's
it was a
awesome.
good experience. But
Good.
don't do it, don't I don't this isn't a this is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
medical
This
advice,
isn't a mushroom
like
promotion.
this is not medical advice by any stretch of the imagination. So
Yeah, of course, of course. What works for some people isn't going to work for anything. But you know what? I'm at the point where, like, all the power to anybody who tries whatever works for them.
yeah, some people are anti-pharmaceutical drugs. I
Mm-hmm.
used to be one of those people where I was like, "Oh my God, that's gonna kill you." But now
Mm-hmm.
I take it
Yeah.
every day, and I'm fine taking it every day. I'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not gonna die. Well, we all
Yes.
die, but
Well, yeah, yeah. We'll get there eventually, but not now.
right.
Um, and how about like your life now? Is it still, are you still like affected by like PTSD at all?
So I definitely get nightmares, and I avoid situations.
Okay, yeah,
And I definitely have triggers. Um, but I have been able to come up with like a routine and some type of structure for my life
right.
that doesn't um like isolation, that's the big one, is not wanting to leave your house, not wanting to be around people, just
Mm-hmm.
being by yourself, probably just sleeping.
Yeah,
But slowly but surely I've addressed the symptoms of PTSD so that it's not crippling my life.
right.
But
I
I
see.
was in shock for a while because trauma, when you first experience trauma, your body goes into shock and then you have to process it. And until you process it, it's not going to go away.
I see you're also going to the gym every day. I'm super proud of you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I have been trying to make it a daily thing to just go and swim and just focus on my breath, focus on counting laps, focus on everything but what is wrong or what is right, or
Right.
just give myself an hour of self care because, like, meditation is good for you. That's science. And
Yeah.
working out is good for you. That's also science. So
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And swimming too is low impact, so that always helps too. I played soccer
that's
for many years, so I have like probably, I don't know, 20% of the cartilage I should have left in my body. But
that's
swimming is
bummer.
always nice because it doesn't hurt.
You're just constantly running. So like, did you run also on a treadmill and like, or outside?
Oh God, yeah. When we were training, we used to have to run up freaking hills. I used to downhill ski to race, and before the lifts even opened, this is when I was really young, but we would have to like run up the hill in our ski boots.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I had like good sized legs by the time I was like 8 or 9. I had like so much muscle in my legs. Actually, my muscle grew faster than my bones. Um, so they were like, I remember my mom getting so frustrated because my waist would be small and then my butt from skiing and my legs would be big, and she's like, I can never find pants for you, and I'm short too, so it doesn't help.
How tall are
Everything would
you?
always be too big on my waist just to fit my legs, right?
Yeah, it's hard to get kids clothes to fit.
Oh my God, right? Oh my God, the kids' clothes are so cute nowadays, though. I love other people's kids. I don't have kids, but other people's kids, I adore them. I'm really good with kids. I have that like ability, I think, up to like certain age, teenagers, but but little ones, yeah, I can get very playful, you know. I
Yeah,
seem to be
it's
able to get down to their level and understand what they're, you know, being like. And it's so refreshing for me too, because like when I other people share like their kids with me, and I'm like, it reminds me of like all the I see all the innocence in childhood that
Mhm.
I didn't have. So it's like so eye-opening and refreshing to see how exciting everything is to a 6 or 7 year old, you know? Like everything is just like every day there's something new that's exciting for them, or
That's
something new that they've seen that's fascinating them. And I just love that sense of childhood innocence. It's refreshing to be able to go back and look on.
yeah, the innocence that you're seeing in the children, it's kind of like healing in a way to
Hmm.
see like, okay, life can be good. Life doesn't have to be hard. The adults around
Yes.
me can make life easier for me. I think like getting down to their level and understanding where they're coming from, that's huge. I did that a lot before I had my son, like with my friends' kids. I felt like
Mm-hmm.
I could always really relate to them and like it was easy to communicate with them, but it's a little different with my own
Yeah, I bet. I
because
bet.
I
Um,
want to explain everything, but I used to, and I stopped.
right, right. May I ask, I won't ask names or anything, but how old is your child?
Well, he is 4, and he'll
Oh,
be,
that is such a fun age.
yeah,
You're
he'll be
like,
5 in
no, it's
September.
not.
Well, they always say like that's such a good age, and they've been saying that to me. Everybody's been saying that to me. So like
But they're
every age
like
is
little
good though.
terrors at that time.
Oh, the other day he threw the biggest fit he's thrown in a while. He threw his
Oh my
cup holders
gosh.
at me. I'm driving down the road and he wants to go see my sister, his aunt, and she's not home. She's going to look at a house. So like there's no way to see her. But anyways, he threw his cup holder at me and I'm good at dodging it, deflecting it, not getting hit. I've
Ninja
been hitting him
reflections
good.
kick in.
Yeah, really, I like swat it down, reach over, grab the other cup holder, and then he tries to take his boot off and throw that at me. And so I
Oh
just
my
rip the other one
gosh.
off. I'm like, nope, not going for the second one, buddy.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
So yeah, they're little terrorists sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then 30 seconds later, mom, I love you.
Yeah. You're like, uh-huh, what do you want?
Right. We're not going inside the house until you're done with your temper tantrum because you're not going to
Yeah,
ruin my nice, clean apartment.
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. That's awesome. Um, but you sound like you're a good mom, you know, like I think sometimes like having trauma gives you that, ability to have empathy that other people may not have naturally. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
it gives you another level of like sensitivity to
yes, yes.
other people's pain and like being able to relate to people more, I feel like is a trauma response.
Yes, absolutely. Um, I think it's a good trauma response.
Yeah.
One of the few good trauma responses, right? Um, because like it's just like I deal with a lot of people who are like literally like suicidal at the moment, and people are like, "Oh my God, like I don't know how you do it," or "I wouldn't know what to say." And I'm like, "You don't have to say anything." That's the great thing about it. Is most people don't want advice and they don't want a lecture. They simply want someone to actively listen. They want to be heard. They want to feel validated. And if I can do that and that talks someone off a ledge, it really isn't a huge skill. It's just like listening. And I know, I've been suicidal many times. I've had quite a few attempts, and I didn't want advice at the time. I just would like to be heard and validated.
Yeah, I think that's a very noble thing of you to be able to conversate with people when they're at their worst and not make it worse. I always fear that I will do something to make it worse or they will act on it and then I'll
Right,
have all that guilt.
right, right. I worked for the kids text crisis line up here for a while, and I had a really bad experience, and I ended up leaving it. But the thing about is it was so scripted that it was harder for me to be able to relate, because I'm not allowed to say, like, try and connect my experiences so they're not alone, because you're not allowed to give any personal information out. So you can never say, like, I understand what you're feeling because I went through something similar, or, whatever the case may be. So I ended up leaving and writing this letter because I was just so angry at, people sometimes just need someone to relate to and know that someone like understands that type of pain that they're feeling, because at that moment they feel like they're the only one on earth feeling this much pain, right? So
Yeah.
it's been a blessing to be able to, have that letter hit so many people, and have so many people being willing to reach out and ask for help, or just like trauma dump even just to get it out.
Yeah, I used to use the internet for trauma dumping until I started having real conversations with real people and I was like, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't burden them with this."
Right,
Like, I
right,
never want one person to feel responsible or feel all the weight of my trauma by trauma dumping on
right,
someone who's not ready for it.
right. Yes, yes. I'm a big proponent for, like, even if I need to like vent or something, I will tend to say, like, do you have space to hold for me, or do you have the mental, fortitude for me to be able to dump right now? Even if it's just in writing and no response necessary kind of thing, right? Just to help me get it out. Um, But
Right.
yeah, I think it's so important just to have that communication and to be able to find your tribe that, doesn't consider it trauma dumping when you need to vent. Um, because trauma dumping can sometimes almost become addictive. People just repeat without looking for the answer that's within, the answers that we look for are always, we always ask, oh, what should I do? But the answer, when you ask yourself, what should I do? The answer's inside of you, right? It's just a
Yeah.
matter of searching through and figuring out what it is.
I think introspection and being able to look in yourself for the answers has been like a coping skill of mine. Like, because so many people around me have let me down and it's like I don't have role models in society that I
Right.
look up to. Like,
Right.
there's not very many women out there that I could consider to be like worthy of that. Like, maybe I have high standards, but you're people like you who are real people, not celebrities. You're more of a role model to me than, you know, people who are given that title of having,
Right. Yeah, I hear you. And again, I think it's that ability to be authentic. I feel like, when you're famous, it's almost like you can only be authentic to a point, and you have to have your quote famous face on all the time, right? Like that's what I said. I'd never want to be famous because, like, I just want to go to the store in my baseball cap. If I see someone taking pictures of me, we're gonna have an issue,
No, really.
right? Like
Having that
it's
privacy is so good.
all right. Like it's just It's priceless. It really is. And, you know, I know people choose to put themselves in those roles, so that's one of the things that comes with them. But it's just, I prefer to, you know, be heard and be read than be seen.
I Yeah, I agree with feeling heard, like that's something that I didn't grow up doing. I didn't feel heard. I felt invisible. And it
Right.
wasn't until very recently that I was like able to kind of get out of my own head and not not be so self-critical while I'm speaking. And it would be like two conversations going on at the same time. One, I'm trying to communicate with someone what's going on inside my head, but then I'm also having this self-doubt like, you don't even make sense. Stop.
Right,
Stop talking.
right.
You don't even know what you don't even know what you're saying. Like, and then I listen back and I'm like, wow, I'm actually kind of smart. What the hell?
Yeah, absolutely, right? It's that self-critic again. It just is so, you know, we're harder on ourselves than we would ever be on anyone else. Like the
Oh
stuff that
yeah.
comes out of my mouth, I'm just like, I would never say that to another human being. Why am I saying it to myself? Right?
Yeah, the
It's I
conversation you have with yourself is the most important one you'll ever have.
Yeah, yeah, and breaking that trauma loop too, because I mean, it can be on replay as I know for years and years and years, and it takes so, especially when like my trauma started when I was an infant, so it just is the
Right.
way like my mind like just always worked like that. So having it not work like that is like, what? Wait a second, there's another way to think. There's different thinking patterns. What the hell?
Was
So it
there
was
a certain
a
point
lot of
in your life,
unlearning.
a lot of unlearning, I think is, yeah, that's, we can both, I think we can relate to each other on different levels, but the trauma since infant, that kind of, I've, I've heard people talk about childhood trauma, but not a lot of people speak about having trauma when they were an infant. And I think, it's powerful to be able to like get to a point in your life where you are able to heal, but was there a certain point in your life where you were like, you know what, F this, I gotta do something about it, or like,
Yes, you know, I think, okay, so my trauma happened for so long from like infancy till I was like 14, and then my mom got cancer and she passed when I was 19. And then I didn't know how to deal with anything, so I did what I knew, which was go to school and play soccer because soccer was like my constant growing up.
mhm.
Um, so I just threw myself into that, and I was playing, you know, 4 to 5 times a week, um, just doing everything to like not be busy, to keep myself busy. And I went to therapy once in my 20s, but I wasn't really like, I don't know, I wasn't ready to heal, I guess, so it wasn't helping me. So I gave up on that, and then I had an attempt and that attempt failed, and I was like, okay, you know what, like I think I'm done with attempts. Like I've had enough failed attempts that death doesn't want me, so it's time to stop making that an option. And I found, luckily, a very lovely trauma informed therapist who was pretty young, and I basically just emailed her like half my story, and I was just like I need help. This is what I'm dealing with. And she took me on. Now therapy here is not covered, you know, unless you have like work benefits.
Oh,
So she took me on for literally $20 a session when she could have been charging 150. And
wow.
she stayed with me for 5 years. And then she moved out of province, but um it was probably the, you know, the 5 hardest years, but the 5 most awakening years. And when I was done, I was like hesitant of therapy because I didn't think that I'd find another therapist like her. So I did like CBT and DBT and everything else with the BT.
Yep.
And, right, like,
I know, right? Okay, that's funny.
and yeah,
Hey, yep.
exactly. It's so true. And then they're like, you know, I felt until like about 2 years ago, I felt like, okay, well, maybe I'm stuck and I can't heal anymore. Like this is just how it's going to be. And then I went to another therapist and she like literally put the psycho in psychotherapist.
Oh
I
gosh.
had trauma from seeing her. Um, so after, I got out of that situation, I was like, that's it, I'm done therapy. I'm never going to a
Right.
therapist again, right? So I started doing some inner child work. I
Ah.
would just buy workbooks and start to work on that, and it's been like really, really helpful for me. Um, just being able to explore. And another thing through writing is like I wrote like letters to many people who abused me or, neglected me. And they were really long and really angry and hateful, not things that I would like absolutely publish anywhere. But it was so good to just get it out, like when I was like with my adoptive father, like I was just like it was like almost 18 pages of like you're an asshole, blah 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 blah, right?
Oh
But
my
like
gosh.
it was so necessary because he's so toxic. And when I like had it all done, I ripped it out of the book and I knew I didn't want to reread it. I knew I didn't want to keep it. So I literally just like ripped it into shreds, and it was like this big weight came off my shoulders of holding in so much for so long. And
That's
it was
so
for me the
interesting.
safest way to be able to get it out because I knew it if I say anything to him, it's just going to be turned around to, oh, your mental illness, right? Like, um, and
Yeah.
I just was tired of that. So when I did that, it got rid of those like, those subconscious expectations we try to live up to that aren't even ours that were placed on us.
Right.
It
The
it
shoulds
got
and
rid of
shoulds.
them. Yes. And it was so freeing to be able to say, oh, wait a second. I'm an adult. I can set my own expectations. I don't have to live up to anyone's expectations but mine now. And that was like such a huge rock out of my backpack of trauma.
I'm I'm like, wow, that's something I'm gonna write down on my to-do list is to actually write these letters because
Yeah.
I've been told by the psychiatrist or the therapist like to write a letter to these people that I have issues with. And whether it gets to them or not, it's still going to be a process. Because I did try to
Y-
sit down and write one like my dad, and that was not fruitful.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be very difficult, but I find if I write, if I'm non-emotional, then my writing doesn't hit as many people. If I write raw while I'm raw, then it seems to connect with like all age groups. Like I've gotten messages from 12-year-olds and I've gotten messages from 75-year-olds,
Wow.
which is nice not to have like a target audience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because with stuff like this, it doesn't, suicide doesn't have an age. Like my stepsister, I don't know whether she did it on purpose or not, but she had alcohol and benzos and killed herself basically.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and it's something, I'm learning to live with that she's not here anymore, but um it's like she was so young. What the hell? Like,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah. It's scary, right?
Yep.
Uh, I sometimes get message from like, 13, 14-year-old kids, and I'm just like, I just want to say, where are your parents? What is happening? Like, oh my God,
Right.
why can't you, like, why do your parents have no idea that you're messaging some random stranger on the internet, right? I
Yeah.
just
Like,
wish, I know it's a difficult subject, but I just wish parents would. And not that all parents, a lot of parents are very open with their kids nowadays, but for me, like suicide should be one of those things where you literally are blunt and ask the question because I know it does not put something into someone's mind. Like if you ask the question, like how's things going at school or whatever else, or have you experienced thoughts of suicide or self-harm or anything like that? That doesn't make the kid think, oh, well, I better do suicide or self-harm, right? It's not a thought that is absorbed like that, but it is a question that is so helpful to just be blunt and ask.
it's something that I not look forward to, but like, I am optimistic about the conversations my son and I have that he will be able to come to me if he is feeling sad or depressed,
Right.
to
And
identify those emotions and say, like, Mom, I think there's something wrong.
yes, of course. And that's so important, right? That open line of communication
Yeah.
and to
And it
encourage
starts
it.
young.
Yes, I was going to say to encourage it at a very young age, and then that the safety and security just grows and grows. And, by the time that hopefully they never deal with those issues, but, if it turns out that they do, at least they know they have someone solid there for them, who's not going to judge them. Because I think that's, one of the key things is a lot of people say, like, oh, my mom will say this, or my mom will judge me, or my parents will judge me, or my friends will judge me. And I think it's just important that if you don't completely understand the situation, then just listen, don't judge, right?
Some people just want to be heard.
Yes.
They're not everybody's looking for your opinion or um your two cents.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When I run my space, I try not to give advice unless it's asked for. Um,
Yeah,
like if someone asks me address, I won't say do this or do that, but I'll say like in my experience, like I have from all the BTs, I have like a big coping toolbox kind of thing, right? So I'll say, okay, well, I can open that toolbox for you and I can offer you a couple of different things, right? And if they don't work for you, then, let me know and we can go through until we do find something that works just for you because it's so individualistic. What's gonna work for some people is never gonna work for someone else, right? So that's why I never say, oh, just do this, this, and this, right? Because who am I to know what works for you?
yeah. Everybody's plan or journey is, catered to their personality, and everybody's personality is so different that what advice you give for one person, it's not blanket advice for everybody, but there are certain things that, like, everybody could benefit from, like, um you know binaural beats. Have you heard of those?
Yes, yeah.
Like, I used to tell my people that I was mentoring back in 20, like, 16, just binaural beats, binaural beats, binaural beats. Like, load yourself up with it and it'll click, it'll all start working eventually. But, like, I was talking to people who had, like, residual karmic debt, and, like, you just got to keep trying and trying and trying, and eventually you're going to look back and be like, wow, I'm glad I started this.
Right, exactly. Because like it's like, you can't get up a ladder by just jumping to the top. You have to start by taking the first step, the baby step that gets you on the first rung, right? And I think like healing is such an up and down journey. Like it's such a roller coaster, right? Because like you think you're like doing so great and then you have a setback and then you're like, oh no, like I'm back to where I started. But in reality, you're never back to where you started because you've already improved so much. So you may have stepped down the ladder two or three rungs, but you've already climbed up 30 rungs, right?
Right.
So now you've got that a better base to build with and a better base, a better sense of strength to be able to pick yourself up and climb back up the ladder again.
And every time I feel like I fall, it's easier to get back up.
Yes, absolutely. That's resilience, right? And I definitely think from like my sense of conversation with any conversation with you, I feel you're very resilient.
That's one thing that, in therapy they say, like, well, what's one thing that you're proud of? Like, what's one thing that you think good of yourself? And I'm like, my resilience. I can snap back from pretty much anything.
Right. And that's so important, right?
I don't know if it's resilience or disassociation, but
Well, sometimes that's okay. That's okay.
that's
Um,
okay. We all
yeah,
get by.
and yeah, exactly. And dissociation is just, it's just a coping mechanism. That's an old habit that will be replaced as you start to heal, like as you continue along the healing journey, something else will fill in that hole. And
Yeah,
I think
and
that's the important thing too, is like when we have like a negative coping habit and we want to replace it, it has to be replaced by something positive. We can't just take that negative coping habit away and leave that empty space, because it'll jump back in there in 10 seconds or less, because that's what
Yeah.
we're used to, right? So it's just a matter of finding, okay, I'm going to fill this void with what? And then finding that one thing or two things that fill that void for you, so that negative coping mechanism doesn't just come back in, and then you're, repeating the same behavior again.
Yeah, I've not heard what you said about, instead of just getting rid of the habit, replacing it with something.
Yeah, it's so important, because like I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna stop doing this, and then I'd stop doing it, but like my brain would just like start doing it again, like almost on its own, because it was just so, like such a natural protective instinct, I guess. And um a therapist once told me, like, if it's like digging holes in the ground, if you don't put soil back in them, like the grass will never grow, right? So now, before I try to just tackle one thing at a time, and whatever the issue is, I will say, okay, if I need to replace this behavior, what can I replace it with? And then just keep practice, because it is a matter of practice, new behavior, right? It's just a matter of going over it over and over and over it again, until it replaces that negative behavior, that which, you know what, the negative behavior served us well at a time. That's why it's there, and that's why we're
Yeah.
still here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes we don't need to carry them, right?
Negative and positive coping skills, aka spirit guides. I feel like uh,
Yes.
these negative ones helped you get through a hard time, and it's not necessarily that they're bad, but it's like they serve their purpose, and you can now let them go.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So when I let them go now, I just make sure that I have something, in place,
Right.
so that it doesn't just come back and my mental trauma loop starts up again, because like when you're in a trauma loop for so long, it's just like the same repetitive thoughts of negativity and self-criticism and that kind of thing. So um that's what I found helpful for me, is just trying to replace a thing one at a time. Because sometimes we're like, okay, I'm going to heal, and I need it done today, and why isn't it done yet? And what's healed? Like, what does it even look like, right? And I try and tell people I don't even know what healed looked like, but I just know that along the way of healing, you got to enjoy the journey, right? It's
Mm,
not always about the destination. Because I don't know if I'll ever be like 100% healed, but I am happy with the progress that I've made.
it's such infinite. It's like infinitely valuable. Your wisdom here, like being able to stop and enjoy the healing journey, because you're not always going to feel this way.
Yes, yes, exactly. And then it's the same with like people who are say they're happy all, like, I don't believe anybody is 100% happy all the time. It doesn't matter what you post on Instagram or how perfect you make your life look. Nobody's 100% happy, right? And
Right.
for me, just being authentic about who I am. If I'm not happy, you'll know. And if I am happy, you'll know that too. But I'm not gonna put on like a mask anymore and pretend I'm happy and happy go lucky, when in fact, like, that's not how my day is going. I just like to be real.
That's, I feel like, so relatable, but also so hard to come by, people that don't put on that mask every day and say, like, inside they're struggling, but on the outside they've got a full face of makeup and their hair is perfect and they're
Yes,
dressed to the
yes,
tens and they're at work hustling along, but they don't tell anybody. And then later on they snap on someone, you know, because
yes,
they kept it
yes.
all bottled up.
Yeah. And like I was like looking today, I was like, oh God, I'm so glad we don't have cameras on, because I need a haircut and I have a baseball hat on because my hair is standing up like the mad scientist.
Oh, I'm so happy we don't have video. I was able to fold through my laundry while we were chit chatting.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's something that I'm a photographer too, so I'm always behind the camera, right? It's new for me to be in front of the camera, and I want to start making like little mental health videos, even if they're just 30 seconds, but it's just that It's been like a year and I'm still trying to work up the nerve to get in front of like just to do a recording, right? Because I'm so self-critical sometimes and I'm just gonna be like, oh my God. Like if I do it, I can't watch it. Like I
Oh
never
no.
listen to my
Yeah.
own podcast. I never listen to my own podcasts. After they're taped, it's just like, okay, I'm just putting it out and if I did really wrong, someone's gonna tell me something. Like someone will comment at some point in time, right? But I don't want to listen to myself because I'll be like, oh my God, what did I say? Or I talk too much, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I used to film myself. It didn't matter if my hair was a mess, whatever it was for TikTok. And now I'm like more self-critical about it. Like I have more followers. I've known these people for a long time. Like
Right, right,
I want to at least, if I'm going to make content, I don't want it to be like, you know, poor quality. I'd rather,
right.
you know, and not that making a video saying, do you like my outfit is quality content. It's just, a way to express myself, I feel like.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm a little bit older than you, so like I grew up with no cell phones, no cameras. Like I feel kind of lucky, like blessed that half the stuff that I did wasn't caught on camera. Right? Because like nowadays everything you do is caught on a camera somewhere or by someone.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but it was nice that freedom almost, right? Like it was like you were guided by the moon, like when the street lights came on at night, it was time to come home, right? Like
Yeah.
there was a simplicity to it that almost is missing now. Um, in a way, I guess
Yeah.
because technology, right? But at the same time, without this technology, I wouldn't have friends across the world, right?
Yeah. It's so cool to be able to interact with people from different countries and different places. And
Yeah, I had a lovely gentleman from Iraq like come into my space the other day and never been in a space before, and he actually took a mic to come up and talk to, and it was just like, oh my God, like I can't believe we're having this conversation right now. It's so cool.
technology really is, it's so powerful if we can use it in the right way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my dear, that was a lovely conversation. It was so casual. I love it. That's how I like to keep this as just a coffee conversation between friends, you know?
Yeah, it's easy for me to conversate now as opposed to maybe 3, 4 months ago. I used to be like frozen, like don't
Oh,
say anything.
well, you did great, just so you
Thank
know.
you.
I think you did great, and I'd love to do. I always like wait a couple of months, and then I like to do a part two and just see where you're at and what's new and exciting. So if you're interested in that, um, we
Yeah,
can do that. We can do that in a little while and do a catch up and um, yeah, that would be great.
that'd be awesome.
It'd be
Hopefully, I
great. And
can catch you in a space, one of Maria's spaces soon, and
yeah, for sure,
actually
for sure. I know
get
you're
to
hiding
talk.
down there anyway. Even if I don't see you, I know you're in there. As long-
If you see other listener one, that's me.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I figured, and that's okay. That's all good. I'm not only in like I don't go to a lot of spaces, but the ones I do go to, I'm comfortable in talking, but going into a new space and talking, I'd probably be in like just listener mode or like anonymous mode for the first little while till I understand exactly what's going on in that space.
Well, yeah, it's good to like be able to listen and not show your face because then like if you leave, I don't know, I find it scary and awkward to join a space if I'm not ready to talk or participate 100%.
Right,
Like I want to have my phone in front of me so that I can support the person speaking by throwing emojis up. And
right.
if I can't commit to doing that, like if I know I'm going to be doing other things,
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to just do other listeners so that way no one gets offended if I'm just sitting in the room without having any emojis or,
Right, right.
just sitting there
Yeah.
all awkwardly lurking. But I like to listen.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I have a lot of people who listen on anonymous mode, which is okay. Like it doesn't bother me. I'm just glad that, they're willing to listen in the first place and willing to be open to, coming to a mental health space.
Yeah, I want to come to one of your spaces soon, but it always works out that it's like right around bedtime for me.
Yeah, that's what I figured too, right? It's like what time the little child goes to bed at. It's probably in between my space time.
Yep.
That's for sure. But yeah, I'm gonna do some pop-up ones anyway, so hopefully we can connect there. But we will
Sure.
stay in touch for sure. And thank you so much for your time. And no, like if you ever need anything, right? Like I'm a phone call, a text, a DM away. Um,
I appreciate that. And the
always if
same
you
for
just
you.
need to listen or vent or whatever the case may be.
I'm
But I will.
definitely likewise open to any
Awesome.
venting or I have a
Awesome.
confidentiality clause. I feel like it's like
Oh, me too.
I signed up
Yeah.
to be a ordained minister with the Universal Life Churches a long time ago, and like I took it seriously.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I used to have that on my profile, and then people would get so offended. Oh my god, they're like,
Oh.
because I had extraterrestrial ambassador too.
And they're like, oh my God, this isn't making sense in my head.
They're like, make it make sense, and I'm like,
Yeah,
nope, I
yeah.
don't need to. Don't worry, it'll all make sense eventually.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And people are so judgmental anyway. Like you can't say anything without offending someone. So it's at the point where you're just like, okay, if you're offended, like, sorry, sorry. That's
Yeah, exactly.
that's kind of like your issue for being offended, not mine.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
Exactly. Anyway, I appreciate your time, my dear. It was
Thank
great
you.
chatting with you.
Likewise.
I hope you have a wonderful day,
Thank you. You too.
and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay,
Bye
take
bye.
care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Mental Health Raw and Open podcast with your host, Jody Betty. Our sponsor for this episode is Shauna Hawkins Photography. With a variety of prints and keepsakes to suit any decor, you're guaranteed to find the perfect piece for your space. Visit shaunahawkins.smugmug.com and make your neighbors jealous today. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a like and don't forget to smash that subscribe button. And if you appreciate the work I do, why not buy me a coffee? Details in the show notes. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Dorian Kent and produced by Jody Betty and Dorian Kent. This has been a Raw and Open production.